When I was 18, I found a little punk on the side of the road that nobody seemed to want. I tried for a long time, but I could never seem to warm her cold exterior. Later, when her first love showed up, I realized she did have a gentle side. It just wasn't for me. The day I let her go, I told a lie, saying, "I'll be right back," and then I never returned. 7 years later, we met again on a film set. Now an Oscar-winning actress, she grabbed me. "I'll be right back," you said. "Where exactly did you go?" I was so nervous my palms were sweating. The newly crowned Best Actress, Chloe Vance, was just 15 feet behind me. If I turned around, I'd run right into her. "Ms. Vance, the next scene is a reunion with an ex. You need to show longing and reluctance to part." Chloe scoffed softly. "Longing? I don't think so. He's an ex-boyfriend. What's there to long for?" Her voice was as cool and indifferent as ever. When we were 18, she used that same voice to call me Rain, sometimes softly, sometimes with an edge. The discussion behind me continued. I couldn't make out what the assistant director said, but Chloe's detached voice came through loud and clear. "I've long forgotten my ex. I'm not the type to go back for seconds." As the ex she'd be going back to, I had no intention of revealing myself. Once the movie wrapped, we would go our separate ways. Just as I was thinking this, a colleague suddenly shouted my name. "Rain, did you find the prop?" Everything went silent behind me. I grabbed the prop and hurried away. Chloe didn't follow. Maybe she hadn't heard, or maybe she had and just didn't care. While setting up the studio, I told my colleague, "Hey, call me Ethan from now on, not Rain." "Why? Rain is a cool name." "Ethan just sounds more professional," I said. He laughed and bought my excuse. This was my first film as an assistant director. I knew before joining the crew that the female lead was Chloe Vance. She was Hollywood royalty with half the industry's resources at her fingertips, and on top of that, she was a genuinely good actress who won an Oscar at 25. Unfortunately for me, I was her first love. I had hesitated about taking the job, but in the end, I couldn't pass up such a great opportunity. I swore to myself that I absolutely could not let her recognize me, or I'd be finished. Our breakup 7 years ago was anything but graceful. In the letter I had written, "I knew you were Hollywood royalty all along. I only got close to you to dig up dirt on your family. The truth is, I can't stand punks. I like sweet, gentle girls. Let's not see each other again." The more callous the words, the more miserably I had fled. I had no idea how Chloe felt after reading that letter, but she was the type to get revenge, and if she caught me, my career could be blacklisted. Chloe Vance is even more beautiful in person than on screen. Those genes are unbeatable. Well, think about who her parents are, former Oscar winners. Even on an off day, she's going to look better than most people. But I love her vibe, so elegant and well-mannered. She must have been the prom queen in high school, right? I almost choked. Chloe, a prom queen? Dead wrong. Not only was she not the prom queen, she was the tough girl everyone was afraid of. I'll never forget the first time I saw her. It was pouring rain and people were rushing down the street, but she just sat on the curb, motionless, as if she were dead. She didn't even look up until I got close, and when she did, her tone was vicious. "Get lost." But I didn't get lost. Instead, I held my umbrella over her head. That was the beginning of Chloe and me. I shook my head, trying to push the memories away. The studio was too noisy, so I ducked into the stairwell for some quiet. But as soon as I pushed the door open, I saw Chloe standing there in the darkness. She looked at me coldly, just like she used to. The stairwell was dark and silent. I lowered my head and started to leave, but Chloe stopped me. "What's your job here?" "Assistant director." "To be Director Zhang's AD right after graduation, that's pretty impressive." "Thank you, Ms. Vance." "How old are you?" 25. She let out a soft, lazy laugh. "We're the same age, and you're calling me Ms. The first AD calls you Ms. Vance, and he's 43. Then say it again." I forced myself to speak. "Ms. Vance." In the darkness, I couldn't see Chloe's face clearly, but it seemed like her lips curved into a smile. It was a cold, emotionless smile that sent a chill down my spine. Yet, I held onto a sliver of hope. She definitely couldn't recognize me. Compared to 7 years ago, I was a completely different person. I'd gone from a scrawny, sallow-faced kid to someone people might call handsome. Even my own relatives barely recognized me, let alone her in this darkness. "You should rest, Ms. Vance. I'll be heading back." "Wait," she stopped me again. "What's your name?" "Ethan Ford." "Have you ever used any other names?" "No." Chloe fell silent, and a cold sweat broke out on my skin. My old nickname was Rain. She had lied to me, and now I was lying to her. I guess that made us even. During the summer after my freshman year of high school, I found Chloe on a street corner. She told me she had nowhere to go and no family. I believed her. I thought she was just like me, a poor kid nobody wanted. When I was little, my parents divorced, remarried, and each had new sons. Neither of them wanted me, so I was sent to live in my aunt's basement. I learned to be obedient from a young age because being good at least meant I would get fed. Chloe and I were complete opposites. I was introverted and quiet, focused only on my studies. In our sophomore year, we were in the same class. No one knew what her family did. There were even rumors she was an orphan with no home to go to. At school, we were like strangers. No one knew that every night, Chloe would tap on my basement window. I cleared a small space on the floor for her to sleep. She would always leave early the next morning before my aunt's family woke up, as if she had never been there at all. Chloe skipped class often and always seemed to be getting hurt. Every time I treated her wounds, she'd complain, "Rain, can you be a little more gentle? Just call me Rain." "Okay, Rain, but can you please be more gentle?" Rain was my nickname, given to me by my late grandmother. I liked it much more than my full name. Because Chloe was always crashing on my floor, I subconsciously felt she was even more pitiful than I was. That led to another delusion. When a teacher called me out for forgetting my textbook, Chloe would walk from the back of the class to the front and toss hers on my desk. I was a late bloomer and smaller than the other boys, so kids from other classes often picked on me. Whenever I was too flustered to defend myself, Chloe would step in front of me and declare, "He's with me." I mistakenly thought we were kindred spirits. It wasn't until later that I understood there were no kindred spirits. Chloe was Hollywood royalty, with countless properties and sports cars. A single one of her shoes cost more than my entire wardrobe for a season. She was just using me to piss off her family. When did I find out? It was probably the day Liam Hayes appeared. My thoughts were interrupted. Back in the studio, a boba tea was thrust into my hand. Liam Hayes is visiting the set again. He bought boba for everyone. Look, the handsome rich guy and the Oscar winner standing together. They're a perfect match. I looked over at them. Chloe had her head tilted, listening to Liam speak. Like everyone else, I couldn't tear my eyes away from the picture-perfect scene. Suddenly, as if sensing my gaze, Chloe looked in my direction. I immediately looked down. When I glanced up again, she wasn't looking at me anymore. It must have been my imagination. "Chloe, after the shoot wraps, come with me to Paris for Fashion Week." His tone of voice was identical to how it was 7 years ago, and I couldn't help but get lost in thought. In high school, Chloe and I maintained a purely platonic friendship. It wasn't until the summer after our SATs that we got together. Chloe was never affectionate, nor did she push me away, but she still couldn't bring herself to say a single tender word. In some ways, though, she was a good girlfriend. She was thoughtful and always made sure I didn't lose face. Chloe never introduced me to her friends. One time, I went to a pool hall to surprise her, but her face tightened, and she said irritably, "Don't come here anymore." I didn't think much of it at the time, just figuring it was part of her personality. That is, until Liam Hayes showed up. He was dressed in an expensive suit with a perfect haircut, appearing like a bolt of lightning in my world. "Chloe, what are you doing in a place like this?" "I just bought a new Ferrari. Let's go for a spin." The word Ferrari nearly made my jaw drop. Liam looked at me, his eyes wide with confusion. "Chloe, who is this guy?" "Hello, I'm Chloe's boyfriend." "Are you kidding me? There's no way Chloe would be into you. I'm her future boyfriend. Our families have an arrangement." "Who says?" Chloe's face darkened as she pushed Liam out the door, her voice firm. "I never agreed to any arrangement with him." Her explanation felt weak. Later, Chloe's parents approached me. That's when I learned she wasn't just Hollywood royalty. Her family practically controlled half the entertainment industry. Chloe had a bad relationship with her parents. She had deliberately transferred from a private academy to a public high school and refused to go home. Her parents were always away and paid little attention to her, having no idea what she was up to. At the end of our conversation that day, her father told me, "Ethan, you may not know this, but Chloe is very rebellious. She's with you to deliberately anger us, not because she genuinely likes you. She's done things like this before. If you don't believe me, just watch how she is with Liam. She's in love with him, but since they grew up together, she hasn't realized her own feelings yet. Ethan, you and she are from different worlds." Afterwards, I realized her father wasn't lying. Although she always complained about Liam, Chloe was incredibly patient with him. One time, Liam was mocking me for being poor, but the second Chloe appeared, his expression changed to one of distress. "Chloe, Rain just threatened to hit me." "Rain, I told you not to mess with him." In that moment, I understood. It wasn't that she was a flower that couldn't bloom, just that she wouldn't bloom for me. At the end of August, I accepted her parents' offer. They would fund my studies abroad. For someone like me, it was likely the only chance I'd ever get. On the day I left, I told Chloe I was going out to buy some chocolate. Chloe habitually pulled out her wallet. "Get the most expensive kind." I didn't take it. "I don't need your money. I'll be right back." "Okay, I'll wait for you." And then, I never came back. As per her parents' instructions, I left behind a cruel breakup letter to completely extinguish any hope she might have had. Our 3-month-long first love quietly withered with the arrival of autumn. I changed my name and cut off all contact with my high school classmates. I used to be pretty invisible back then, except when I was being bullied. I cherished the hard-won opportunity to study and learned how to work out and dress well. With a new name and a new look, combined with her parents' deliberate efforts to hide my tracks, there was no way for Chloe to find me. In her eyes, I might as well have been dead, but I heard plenty about her. After I left, she decided to take a gap year to reapply to colleges and got into NYU's Tisch School of the Arts. Her acting career took off smoothly after she debuted. In front of the camera, she was gentle and elegant, her captivating smile winning over fans' hearts. There was no trace of the girl I once knew. I figured people change. I had changed, too. At the end of a long day, my body ached with exhaustion, but my colleagues were buzzing with energy. Whoa, this shot is stunning. What is it? A new candid of Chloe Vance is trending on Twitter. I leaned in to look. A single candid photo had sparked a huge discussion. This is from the scene where she runs into her ex. Look at the expression in her eyes. It's incredible. Chloe brings the character to life. In the photo, Chloe was staring straight ahead, her posture poised and elegant, but her eyes burned with a wild crimson flame. What made my heart stop was the blurred figure at the edge of the frame, right in her line of sight. It was me. The next day, filming continued. The male lead had an accident and had to go to the hospital. It was a crucial scene between the two leads, and the delay was a huge problem. The director was anxious and decided to find a stand-in to film Chloe's shots first. Chloe insisted on choosing the stand-in herself. I stood at the very edge of the crowd, but her gaze landed right on me. Him. The director didn't object and urged me to quickly change into the lead actor's costume. I only needed to show my back, but the makeup artist still did my face to avoid any continuity errors. When I stood in front of Chloe, she seemed to zone out for a second. Chloe asked me, "Are you nervous? Never acted before?" "You don't have to act, just listen," she said. After a pause, she added, "Relax. If you're tense, your body will be stiff, and it will look unnatural on camera." "Okay, I can take a deep breath to calm down. Thank you, Ms. Vance. In a moment, the camera will be on me. You just need to listen to my lines. And one more thing." Chloe trailed off. I looked up at her. "What is it? Where's my chocolate?" she asked, enunciating every word. Her eyes held a crazed intensity that was just as fierce as it was years ago. She slowly extended her hand. "Rain, it's been 7 years. You should have had enough time to buy it by now, right? I'm screwed." That was my first thought. Chloe must have recognized me a long time ago. Coincidentally, this scene was about the female lead's heartfelt confession to the male lead after a long separation. For a moment, I was dazed, thinking those were the words she wanted to say to me. But how could that be? The real Chloe had never said anything romantic to me. After the take, the director gave me a thumbs up. "Ethan, you've got a real talent for this. Your expression just now was spot on. Was it possible we were both just playing ourselves?" For the next few scenes, Chloe specifically requested that I be her point of contact. My head was spinning. Chloe had so much influence that even the director couldn't afford to cross her. Pointing me at this moment, what could it be but revenge? I was promoted from a production assistant to her personal assistant director, which meant spending 18 hours a day revolving around her. But my duties went beyond that. For instance, when the crew needed to move heavy props, I'd just be rolling up my sleeves when Chloe would grab me. "Go get me a boba tea." It wasn't just boba. She'd also order a ton of snacks. Delivery services existed, but she insisted I personally go and bring them back. To be fair, my colleagues were jealous that I got paid to wander around outside. But by the time I returned with the snacks, Chloe would have lost her appetite. After a week of working under Chloe like this, I had actually gained weight. Over time, even my colleagues grew curious. "Do you think she's buying all those snacks for you on purpose?" "No way. But she's really lenient with you." Chloe is known for being strict, and her company is an investor in this film. She's chewed out every other AD, but she's never once yelled at you. "That's not true. I'm just glad she's not torturing me," I denied flatly. The gossip on set eventually reached Liam Hayes' ears. He rushed over to confront me. "So you're Chloe's new assistant?" I couldn't help but correct him. "Assistant director. You're so young. Can you even handle the job?" "Mr. Hayes, please don't judge a book by its cover." Liam stared at me for a long moment. "Have I seen you somewhere before?" "You're probably mistaken." I had no interest in reminiscing with the rich boy and went back to organizing my work schedule. Liam snorted. "I've seen plenty of crew members like you. Don't think you have a chance to climb the ladder just because Chloe is giving you some attention. I'd advise you to know your place, or you'll end up with a broken heart." "What are you talking about? You look a bit like Chloe's old boyfriend." Liam said this and then waited for my reaction. He probably expected me to be shocked or upset, but I just looked at him, confused. "And she's only giving you this role because she's using you as a substitute, not because she actually values you. Chloe despises that guy, so don't get too cocky. I put down my work and smiled at him. If she hates him so much, why would she look for a substitute? That seems contradictory. Liam was speechless. After he left, my heart wouldn't quiet down. Chloe hated me. It was just as I'd thought. That night, Chloe suddenly sent me an iMessage, asking me to bring her some medicine. Following the principle of never offending the lead actress, I bought the medicine and took it to her room. I thought she was just messing with me, but she was genuinely sick, with beads of sweat on her forehead. What's wrong? Stomachache. Where's your assistant? She went into the city and can't get back in time. That's strange. Chloe never used to have stomach problems. What happened to your stomach? I didn't eat properly during my gap year. Why didn't you eat? No one saved any food for me. She looked at me through half-lidded eyes. It reminded me of how I used to always save a portion of my dinner for her when she slept on my floor. By the time I finished my homework, she would have eaten every last bite. The cafeteria food was gross, she'd say. The same stubborn attitude. I noticed a large spread of hot food on her table. It just arrived, but my stomach hurts too much to eat. What a waste. I'm so sick of the crew's boxed meals, I muttered. Then you eat it, she said casually. It's a waste to leave it. If you don't eat it, just throw it out for me. I broke apart a pair of disposable chopsticks and sat down at the table. I ate quietly, and the room was silent. I thought Chloe had fallen asleep, but when I turned, she was watching me with a smile on her face. The moment our eyes met, her smile vanished, replaced by that familiar look of someone the whole world had wronged. She hadn't changed at all. We sat in our usual silence, not saying a word. Just as I was leaving, Chloe suddenly spoke. Liam and I have nothing going on. We never have, we don't now, and we never will. I gave a polite nod. But Ms. Vance, I don't care. That sentence made her mood sour for days. It didn't matter to me. The shoot was almost over anyway. But a few days before wrapping, a major accident happened. We were filming a scene on a boat on a windy day. The sound mixer had to use the restroom, so I took over for him, standing at the edge of the deck and holding a boom mic that was taller than I was. I was a bit unsteady, swaying back and forth. A strong gust of wind blew, I lost my footing, and I fell off the boat. Below me was a lake, but I couldn't swim. In the chaos, I heard a desperate cry. Rain! Chloe had jumped in right after me. She grabbed onto me tightly, as if she would never let go. After that, I don't remember anything. I woke up in an unfamiliar room. There was a handwritten note on the nightstand. This is my house, not far from the studio. I called you in sick, so rest for a few days. If you need a change of clothes, there are some new men's clothes in the walk-in closet. The handwriting was unmistakably Chloe's. Many actors own property near production studios, and Chloe was no exception. I'd read in the tabloids that she stayed here most of the time. The house was immaculate. I walked into the closet, and the first thing that caught my eye was a black umbrella. It was the same umbrella I had held over her head all those years ago. It was old and cheap, but it was placed right in the center of her closet. I suddenly remembered that day in the downpour when I used that umbrella to shield her from the storm. Chloe kept trying to shoo me away, but I don't know where I got the courage to pull up her sleeve and check her wounds. She looked like she wanted to curse but held it back. It's not too bad, you don't need a hospital. Wait here, I'm gonna buy medicine. I'll be back soon. She shoved the umbrella into my hand. Just go. 10 minutes later, I returned, having bought medicine and some food. The rain had soaked me completely. She just stared at me in silence. From that day on, Chloe never said another harsh word to me. I only learned later how shocked she had been. No one in her life had ever left and come back for her. I was the first. My trip down memory lane ended. I found the clothes and slowly started to change. Before I could even get my shirt on, the closet door swung open. Chloe and I stared at each other, mortified. She quickly backed out. Once I was dressed, she said, "You were so quiet. I thought you had left again." "Don't be so aggressive," I replied. Chloe froze for a second, and all the fire went out of her. Those words used to work like a charm. Whenever Chloe got angry, I would gently say, "Don't be so aggressive." I was surprised it still worked. "I haven't even blamed you yet. Why did you come into the closet without knocking?" "I didn't know you were in there," she said, her face turning red. "I didn't see anything. If you're upset, I can apologize." "I'm sorry." I had discovered long ago that despite her tough and stubborn personality, Chloe was surprisingly innocent about certain things. "It's fine," I said, tired and not thinking. "It's not like you haven't seen it before." The moment the words left my mouth, I knew they were wrong. Sure enough, Chloe pressed her lips together as a blush spread from her face all the way down her neck. I changed the subject. "Don't you have scenes today?" "I'm wrapped for the day. I'm gonna make some porridge. You should take your medicine in a bit." I had caught a cold from falling into the lake. When Chloe brought the porridge, she was wearing an apron. I couldn't help but stare. "You look gentle in an apron." "What did you say?" I said, "Thank you." Chloe's eyes lit up, but her tone was still harsh. "Finish all of it. No wasting food." What else do you want to eat? I suppose I can make it for you. Don't trouble yourself. You should focus on your own things. I don't have any scenes tomorrow morning, so I'm not going back to the set tonight. I have time to prep ingredients. Also, you're sleeping here tonight. I'll move to the guest room. The guest room doesn't have extra bedding. You're sick, so stay in bed and stop making things difficult. Chloe pointed to the floor. Same as always. I'll sleep on the floor. In the middle of the night, my fever spiked again. Chloe barely slept, changing the towel on my forehead every so often. When you're feverish, you start to see things. In my days, I thought I was back in that small basement. Chloe would sleep on the floor, keeping a careful distance of several feet between us as if to avoid any suspicion. A small table separated us. When I looked over, all I could see was her slender back. One time, Chloe got sick but tried to hide it. I sensed something was wrong in the middle of the night and found her forehead burning up. I found some fever medicine and wiped her face over and over with a cool cloth. She suddenly reached out and grabbed my hand, holding on tightly as if she was afraid I would leave, only letting go after she fell asleep. That was the closest we ever got before graduation. Most of the time, we were like strangers, passing each other in the school hallways without a word. I spent the night in a haze. When I woke up the next day, Chloe was gone. She had been called back to the set for some reshoots, but the table was covered with freshly made food. In the very center was a bar of chocolate, the most expensive kind. I was halfway through my meal when someone came in. I thought it was Chloe, but it was a woman I didn't know. I recognized her though. She was Chloe's agent and best friend. The agent just stared at me, dumbfounded. I tried my best to explain. I'm just an assistant director from the set. What's your name? You can just call me Rain. She nearly jumped out of her skin. Rain? You're that Rain. She looked at me with sudden realization. You're the one. What's wrong? Seeing my confusion, she continued, Chloe went crazy looking for you. When she couldn't find you, she completely gave up on herself. She wouldn't eat or sleep, and she hit rock bottom. Now that she's found you, she can finally be at peace. It's been 7 years. She can finally stop torturing herself. You must be joking. We only dated for 3 months. I couldn't have been that memorable. How could you not be? Don't you know she became an actress for you? Because of her parents. She's hated the profession her whole life. Her family wanted her to be a child star, but she refused. But right after you two broke up, she suddenly announced she wanted to be an actress. She said it was because you loved movies, and if she became a star, she could stand on the brightest, highest stage where you would be able to see her. I was stunned. It was true. One night, I couldn't sleep and started talking to her. Chloe, are you asleep? No. I watched a movie today, The Shawshank Redemption. It was amazing. Not interested. I want to make movies someday too, but that's really expensive, right? Too bad I don't have any money. Making movies doesn't cost that much. I thought she was being naive and didn't know what she was talking about, so I dropped it. Turns out she remembered everything. The agent sighed with emotion. It only took 3 months for her to remember you for a lifetime. That afternoon, Chloe returned. She asked her agent, "What are you doing here?" "You're about to wrap, so I came to tidy up." "Don't bother. You can go. Also, I'm taking a break for a while. Don't schedule any new projects." Ditching your friends for a guy. Do you remember when you couldn't find him, crying your eyes out to me? Chloe awkwardly cut her off. "Don't say that in front of my boyfriend." I corrected her. "Ex-boyfriend. You never broke up with me in person, so it doesn't count. I wrote a letter. It was just a letter. I threw it away after I read it. Who knows if you even wrote it yourself." Seeing the tension, the agent slipped away. "Weren't you angry when you read that letter?" "I said I was going to expose you. You don't have the guts. Besides, don't you think I would have seen it in the news if you had?" I was speechless. Chloe went to wash some fruit, and I continued. "A breakup only requires one person's consent. Whether you accept it or not, we've been over for a long time." Chloe's body stiffened. She turned to face me. "Rain, then I'll pursue you. It's no use." "Chloe, are you mad at me? Is it because I lied to you and didn't tell you about my background? Or is it because of Liam, and I didn't explain things clearly?" "It's all of those things and none of them. Chloe, we're from different worlds. Let's not force it." The room fell silent. I don't know how much time passed, but when she spoke again, her eyes were bloodshot, and she sounded aggrieved. "Then I will force it." I didn't take Chloe's words to heart. After the film wrapped, I went back to my hometown. My aunt's old house was scheduled for demolition, and she asked me to help clear out the furniture. Even though she had always favored her own kids, she had raised me, and I wasn't going to be ungrateful. On the way, I passed by my old high school. The campus had been renovated a few years ago and looked completely different. I stood at the gate for a while when someone suddenly called out to me. "Hey, it's you. I remember you." A woman about my age came out of the janitor's office. "You went to this school, right? I remember you were in the same class as Chloe Vance." I nodded. "I used to get into fights with Chloe. By the way, why are you alone today? Where's Chloe? Wasn't she always following you?" I was taken aback. Following me? Yeah. Every day after evening study hall, Chloe would follow behind you and watch you walk home. You didn't know? Could that really be true? I didn't believe it, the woman continued. That time we were fighting, she suddenly called a truce in the middle of it, saying study hall was over and she had to go back to school. I thought it was weird, her going back to school, so I followed her. I saw her waiting and waiting at the gate until you came out. Then she followed you all the way home before coming back to find me. I found out later she was afraid her enemies would come after you, so she wanted to make sure you were safe. The woman pointed to a sycamore tree in the corner. She used to stand right there, waiting for you. 17-year-old Chloe loved to wear black, always blending into the night. As a breeze rustled the leaves, I could almost see her standing there. My aunt called to hurry me along. When I arrived, they were clearing out the basement. The bed I had slept in, the desk I had used were all being carried out. Ethan, I found something. Come quick, she exclaimed, pointing to a corner of the floor. Your name is carved all over it. It was that girl, wasn't it? The one who became a movie star. How did you know? Oh, she came to see me. When was it? Do you remember? I found something here once and gave you a real scolding. You were so stubborn back then, I swear. You refused to tell the truth and insisted it was yours. But I knew you weren't that kind of kid. My aunt recalled the memory fondly. The day I scolded you, that girl was right outside the window. She saw everything. Later, she found me privately, knelt before me, and begged me not to blame you. I clutched the hem of my shirt, my breath catching in my throat. I was afraid she'd be a bad influence, so I forbid her from sleeping on the floor here ever again. So that's what happened. Near the end of our sophomore year, Chloe stopped coming over. She told me she had found a place to stay, but the truth was, she was just afraid of causing me trouble. The worn-out carvings on the floor spoke of Chloe's own sleepless nights. She had never said a word, but in her heart, she had been calling my name 1,000 times over. The day before the demolition, I walked the familiar path from the school gate to my aunt's house one last time. The small road was shaded by dense sycamore trees. At the end of the path, I saw the small basement window. As if by telepathy, I turned my head. Chloe was standing across the street, wearing a face mask. 20 minutes later, we were sitting in the old diner we used to frequent. I hadn't answered any of her calls since the shoot ended, but I should have known she'd find me. Next to the diner was that old pool hall. Watching people go in and out, I suddenly needed an answer. Chloe, that summer, I came here looking for you. You were so annoyed and told me to leave. Do you know how much that hurt me? Chloe looked stunned for a moment. I wasn't annoyed. I was scared and anxious. That pool hall was a bad place, and the people I was with that day were not good people. Those girls were trying to set me up, and when you showed up, I was terrified they would target you. Chloe's brow furrowed as she explained carefully. I'm sorry. I was so on edge that I gave you the wrong impression. Just then, the host called our name. I asked Chloe to grab a bottle of water on her way. In the brief moment she was gone, a group of women surrounded me. Hey handsome, can I get your number? Was that your girlfriend? Why is she wearing a mask to eat? Is she sick or something? I gave them a cold look. Get lost. Haha, feisty, aren't we? Do you know who we are around here? The leader of the group reached out to touch me. A second later, she was screaming in pain. I had her wrist in a tight grip. I don't hit women. Just then, Chloe returned. He doesn't, but I do. Chloe completely dropped her disguise and her public persona, radiating pure menace. I stared, stunned. It was her. The Chloe I knew was back. I had no doubt she could take on all four of them and win, but I had to stop her. With her status now, she couldn't afford to get into a fight. But Chloe was stubborn, glaring at the four women, determined to get justice. Come on, Chloe. Don't be so aggressive, I said, tugging her hand. Chloe froze instantly, as if a wave of calm had washed over her. All the fight went out of her, her sharp edges softening. Fine, let's just forget it. Chloe, let's run. Chloe grabbed my hand tightly, and we bolted. We ran through the streets and crowds, tireless. The sound of my heartbeat pounded in my ears. Thump, thump, thump. The last time I'd heard that sound was because of the youthful flutter the same person had given me. And in this moment, she seemed like that same stubborn girl again. We ran all the way to my aunt's house and slipped into the basement. It was completely empty now, waiting for demolition the next day. There were no lights, only the moonlight streaming in. Rain. We both started to speak at the same time, then decided I would go first. Did you really used to walk me home every day? Yeah. I had a bad temper back then and made a lot of enemies. I was worried about you walking alone. Why didn't you tell me? What was there to tell? She said with a smile. You had to get into college. You needed to focus on your studies. I handled the rest. I pointed to the carvings on the floor. Then what do these mean? They mean I love you. I was stunned for a moment. You never said that when we were 18. Chloe lowered her eyes and spoke softly. Because back then, I didn't know how. Chloe's past was complicated. She had parents, but it was as if she didn't. Growing up in a cold, distant family, no one ever taught her how to love someone or how to express that love. She thought being there for me and spending money on me was her way of confessing. When I confessed to her, she was actually happy, but because she wasn't used to being loved or being close to someone, she seemed passive. Chloe had practiced saying, "I love you," in the mirror, but it felt awkward and she couldn't get the words out, so she wrote them down instead. She even learned to fold 1,000 paper cranes like other girls did, writing, "I love you," inside each one, planning to give them to me on my birthday. But that day never came. Later, through acting and living different lives on screen, she finally learned how to express herself. But the person she wanted to say it to was already gone. After a moment of silence, I asked, "So what about Liam?" Chloe shook her head. "I was nice to him because he saved my life." "What?" "When we were kids, my parents ignored me, but he always came over to play. One time I had a high fever, and he was the first one to notice. He cried and made such a fuss that the adults finally paid attention and realized I was sick. The doctor said if they had waited any longer, I could have had brain damage." Recalling the past, Chloe gave a self-deprecating laugh. "After that, I promised I would treat him like a real brother. And for all these years, that's how I've seen him. But there was something else that summer. Liam threatened me. He said if I didn't let him tag along, he'd go to my parents and tell them lies to make them hate you. My parents always trusted him, and if he exaggerated things, it would have been very bad for you. I didn't trust my parents not to take it out on you. They might have secretly pulled strings to keep you out of college altogether." It all clicked into place. "So that's why you told me not to mess with him?" "Yes." Chloe knew which incident I was referring to. "When Liam said you threatened him, I didn't believe a word of it. I just wanted you to have absolutely no contact with him, not even to speak to him. That was the only way to keep you safe." She looked dejected. "I never thought it would cause such a deep misunderstanding. You could have just asked me directly." Thinking back on it all, I was overwhelmed with emotion. She didn't know how to love someone, but did I? No, I didn't know either. Being abandoned by both of my parents had robbed me of the courage to ask questions. In my world, the only way to get a rare word of praise and avoid being cast aside again was to be perfect, to study and work hard. So when it came to Chloe, I would rather suffer in silence than confront her with a single question or dare to get angry. Not knowing how to love was a sickness we both shared. The moonlight was cool on my skin. There was one last thing I had to clarify. "Your parents paid for me to go abroad." I figured. I could have refused to go, but it was probably my only chance to study overseas. I was selfish. "I understand," Chloe said with a gentle smile. "Rain, you're too kind. I wish you would be a little more selfish so the world can't hurt you. From now on, I'm gonna focus on my career too." "No problem. I'll follow you. You're an Oscar winner with a limitless future. Why would you follow me? Even becoming an actress was because of you. But we only dated for 3 months. But my love for you is longer than 3 months." Chloe was a woman of action. The day after we cleared up our misunderstandings, she posted about us on Twitter, tagging me. 3 months for a lifetime. The post nearly crashed the site. I was worried her parents would give her trouble again, but my fears were unfounded. Chloe was 25 now. What could her parents do even if they disapproved? With her personality, they had no control over her. Perhaps they couldn't control her 7 years ago either, which is why they came after me. I had simply lost to my own insecurity. After Chloe's announcement, someone else started trending. That same day, an enraged Liam Hayes found me. "I knew I'd seen you somewhere before. You're Rain." "Yeah. So? Break up with Chloe right now. I'm the one she's supposed to marry." I opened my mouth to speak but stopped. Chloe had arrived and was standing right behind him. Liam continued his tirade. "Have you seen what people are saying online? They're calling you a gold digger who broke up me and Chloe. If you don't want to lose your job, you'll break up with her and give her back to me. What relationship do we have?" "This is news to me," Chloe said, her voice cutting in. Liam grew frantic. "Chloe, how could you let this poor kid fool you again?" "Watch your mouth," Chloe warned, slamming her hand on the table. "You said you'd always treat me like a brother. Why are you yelling at me? I've been more than fair to you. A brother shouldn't be thinking about becoming something more, or we can't even be friends." No one had ever spoken to Liam like that before. He was furious. "Chloe, you're completely bewitched by him. I'm holding a press conference. Just you wait. He'll never be able to shake the gold digger label. First of all, there is no written proof of any marriage arrangement. It was just a joke between our parents, which I have publicly denied many times," Chloe said, her eyes narrowing. "Secondly, if you dare to hold that conference, don't blame me for what happens next. But this poor kid is not worthy of you." Chloe suddenly looked at him with a hint of pity. "All you can talk about is him being poor. Liam, have you ever truly loved someone?" "Of course. I love you." "No, you don't love me," Chloe interrupted. "If my last name wasn't Vance, If I didn't have famous parents, if I were just some punk from the streets, would you still love me? Liam froze, as if he had never considered the question before. If you saw me sitting on the curb on a rainy day like that, would you have held an umbrella over me? No, you would have cursed me under your breath for being a degenerate. You love my status, not me as a person. You can't even accept the fact that I used to be a punk. Chloe pulled me away. When I looked back, Liam was still standing there, looking completely stunned. I wondered if he finally understood. A week later, I heard that Liam's press conference was happening as scheduled. Chloe couldn't stop it, but she had prepared for the crisis that would follow. However, the press conference didn't go as we expected. A haggard-looking Liam appeared before the cameras, impeccably dressed. Today, I want to make one thing clear. There is no marriage arrangement between Chloe Vance and me. The room erupted. Everyone had come expecting a scandal like the Oscar winner cheating. Chloe and I grew up together because of our family's business partnership. She sees me as a brother, and I only see her as a sister. The engagement was just a rumor that neither of us ever acknowledged. Our parents mentioned it casually, but it was never official. I have never been in love with Chloe, and she has never been in love with me. I hope everyone will stop spreading false information. As for me, Liam paused for a beat before saying seriously, Ethan is Chloe's first love. I judged him unfairly, and for that, I am deeply sorry. With Liam's apology, public opinion shifted in an instant. Netizens dug up some of Liam's past arrogant statements, and he became the new topic of discussion. The good news was all the PR strategies Chloe had prepared were no longer needed. I was baffled. Why the sudden change of heart? Chloe grinned. If he didn't change his tune, our families wouldn't have any business deals left to discuss. Chloe now held the most power in her family, with the family company under her control. Liam had been forced to bow to the pressure of their business partnership. 6 months later, Chloe's father fell ill and had to retire. Her mother canceled most of her engagements to stay home and care for him. Chloe, on the other hand, saw her career flourish. She was now fully in charge, and her elders could no longer interfere in her decisions. The newly enlightened Chloe was like a different person. Whatever she had lacked in the past, she now tried to make up for in abundance. Half of her Twitter feed was about me. She even mentioned me on talk shows. I used to be a troubled kid, but my boyfriend pulled me out of the darkness and showed me a glimmer of light. But there were side effects. If she couldn't find me, she would panic, terrified that I had left her again. Sometimes, she would wake up from a nightmare, clinging to me and calling my name. Rain. The world saw a cool, aloof Oscar winner, but with me, she loved to be affectionate. She would say my name over and over, reminding me of the words carved into the dusty floor. When we were 27, Chloe and I visited our old high school. Youth is like the seasons, one crop after another. There are always people who are young, and always people who don't know how to handle the first stirrings of love. Outside our old classroom stood a large sycamore tree. We stood beneath it, listening to the sounds of students reading aloud. Chloe, it's been 7 years. What if I hadn't come back? You would have. So sure. You came back for me on that rainy day, so I believed you would come back this time too. I was the only person in her life who had ever left and returned, and I still was. We stood under the classroom window, and Chloe stood on her toes to kiss me. Rain, I love you. In high school, I found a little punk nobody wanted. Today marks the 10th anniversary of finding her, and it's also the first day of our marriage. If anyone ever asks me what the best love letter I ever received was, I'll tell them it was the walk home from school, the nights we spent together in silence, and a series of unspoken words carved into the floor.